Hello. Hey, everybody. Michelle here with Michelle Beckner Family Wellness, coming at you with my grandma sweater on. I know on the East Coast, you guys had like a nice hot day today. Here uh, in Colorado, in the Rocky Mountains, well, I'm not in the mountains. I'm in Denver, but it's a chilly, overcast day today, and it definitely feels like fall. So, got my sweater on. Um, so yeah, I'll give a few minutes for everyone to join in. Say hi if you're watching. I usually try to, like get in touch with people who I feel like would be interested in what I'm talking about. I know I tagged Leah because a few weeks ago on a live show, she's the one that requested this talk. But yeah, hopefully, if you're just scrolling by or whatever, if some talk about reintroducing dairy and doing the dairy ladder is interesting to you, then hop on in and say hi. I literally have nothing planned. I've been a little under the weather since Saturday. I've just haven't been feeling well, been having headaches and just haven't been feeling myself. And it's been really hard because my new course just started today. Today's the first day of my monthly membership group. We have a new topic every month. And I rescheduled or postponed my monthly membership call, which was supposed to be on Sunday. So anyway, I've just been a little bit off, a little bit behind on some work. So I don't have, like I said, a ton or really anything planned, but I wanted to show up for you guys and say hi. So please say hi back. At least give me a little bit of love. Hopefully I'll get over whatever this weird headachy spell is that I've been having. I think I just need to rest, relax, take care of myself. So reminder to all you moms, it's important to rest and relax. I love my work. I love what I do. I love helping you guys. I love talking to you guys. I love getting to know as many of you as I can. But yeah, sometimes I think I just need to set some boundaries. So I am sort of stepping back from work a little bit, just to kind of recoup and recalibrate a little bit. So anyway, I still wanted to show up for you guys and say hi. So we're talking about reintroducing dairy ladder. If anybody has questions, like specific questions, please leave them in the comments. Again, say hi if you're watching. It really makes me feel good when people say hi, because I can see when there's people watching. So it makes me feel good when you say hi. But I get it. I guess, yeah, sometimes it's just nice to be a lurker and and not have everyone know that you're around. So that's fine. Okay, so let me know if you have questions about the dairy ladder. I was going to say one other thing, but I guess I'll just get started. I don't want to waste too much time or take up too much of our time. So I guess mainly what I wanted to say, I did do a video probably like maybe 2 years ago about reintroducing dairy. I think it was called Everything You Need to Know About Reintroducing Dairy. It's probably on my MLB Family Wellness main Facebook page, which I don't really use too much anymore. And it's probably on YouTube too. So I'll find a link to that and send that there. And then I have my dairy-free survival course, which towards the end, we talk about reintroducing dairy, and I include in there what I call my real food dairy ladder. And I have included that in the group, but it's been a while. So maybe I need to repost it under files so it kind of comes to the top again. So I call it the real food dairy ladder. So a few things that I want to talk about with the dairy ladder. Okay. If you guys know me, if you've been watching me or following me for any amount of time, you know that I do things a little bit differently, right? I mean, one of my mantras that I say all the time is products over, not products over produce, produce over products. So kind of my whole thing is going dairy free is amazing for you and your baby if your baby's sensitive to it and it can resolve their symptoms. Like, that's great right there. But what you'll probably find is you will start to feel better because simply you're just looking more closely at what is in your food, right? So you're just paying more attention to what you're eating, and you're paying more attention to how those things are making you feel and how they're making your baby feel. And that makes a huge difference in your health. Whether you're eating any healthier or not, you're now paying attention to how you're feeling and what things make you feel that way. And that is really one of the keys to health, is just feeling good and eating in a way that feels good, right? So a lot of times going dairy free or going on any sort of elimination diet can really be this like blessing in disguise, whether you turn it into like this huge health epiphany and, you solve all these health problems, or you lose weight, or your skin clears up, or whatever, either it's something grandiose and huge and amazing like that, or you just feel good and you're like, hey, this was kind of scary and hard at first, but now I'm feeling great and I'm going to, keep it up as much as I can for as long as I can. So either way, what I find is, and that's where the name of this group came from, Dairy-Free Breastfeeding, Surviving and Thriving, because in the beginning, the first few weeks, it is about surviving, because you're kind of thrown for a loop. Like all the stuff that you normally go to and grab and cook and everything is not an option anymore for you, right? And it can be really hard. And usually the first 2 weeks is really, really hard. And once you get past the first month, it's a little bit easier. It's much easier if your baby's symptoms start clearing up, right? Because then you have that extra motivation. But what was I saying? I was on a roll and now I lost it. So it's surviving at first, right? But then you start getting into the thriving. You're like really paying attention to what you're eating, really paying attention to how you and baby are feeling. Like maybe you even kind of feel like a special bond between you guys. You're paying more attention to, because now you can't have a lot of like certain go-to foods. And so your options are either like processed, like fake dairy type substitutes or whatever that are A, expensive, and B, not real food. They're Franken food, right? So that's one of your options, and people go that route, and that's fine if they feel okay with, like, feel good doing that. But what I see more often is people going the route of like moving towards more whole food, because it just makes more sense, right? It just makes more sense, and it's less expensive. So that's where the thriving piece comes in. So anyway, where does this all go back to the dairy ladder, and where I kind of feel about the dairy ladder? The dairy ladder kind of pisses me off because every single step on the dairy ladder is like junk food, and definitely not food that I would want to give to my baby. Like I think the first step is like cookies, right? Those malted biscuits or whatever. I mean, there's different ones out there, but I feel like I see a lot the UK dairy ladder. And I'm not an expert on these dairy ladders that are out there, because I think they're total BS. Okay. If your kid has a severe allergy, yes, please be working with an allergist. Please be working with a professional, a doctor, a medical professional to kind of help you through introducing. But if your baby doesn't have a severe reaction, is maybe just a sensitivity or intolerance, or maybe even an allergy, like if they had blood in their poop or whatever, but it's not like a life-threatening thing, then we can do this. And we don't need to give our babies cookies to do it either, okay? So I want you guys to understand the general concept of the dairy ladder versus like each strict, rigid step of the dairy ladder, okay? And I get that, and I'm not, like, when I'm telling you this, when I talk to any moms, like whether it's one-on-one, like working with them one-on-one, or through like a free consult or whatever, I'm like, I always want to remind you, I'm not telling you to do this. I'm telling you, this is from my experience. This is from what I know. This is from my background. This is what I recommend. I'm not telling you like, this is the way it has to be. So if you think I'm crazy or an idiot or whatever, then that's fine. But this is just what I believe and what I know to feel right for me and a lot of the people that I talk to. Okay. So if you need it to be super rigid and like, follow every little single step, and you're okay with giving your baby cookies and things, then that's fine. But if you feel like there's a better way, there is. Okay. It doesn't need to be like this super nerve-wracking, stressful, like have to do it precisely right every time. Again, if your baby has a severe allergy, you're working with a professional. Okay. I know there's people watching, so if you have questions or if you're feeling me or whatever, just let me know. Even just give me like a like or something, so I know I'm like on the right track and I'm not. Or maybe I am pissing you off and you can give me a mad face. I don't care. Okay, so when it comes to the dairy ladder, I want you to understand like the whole concept of the dairy ladder versus like, okay, what's the next step? What's the next step? What's the next step? Okay, the whole concept of the dairy ladder is we want to work our way up to, potentially our baby being able to have, oh, hi, Casey. Yay, good to see you. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions about the dairy ladder, or if you've tried it, or if you're thinking about trying it, or whatever. I'm just kind of explaining like the general concept of the dairy ladder, because I think that's what we want to understand. So the goal here is to maybe potentially have your baby, your child, to be able to eat dairy in some form, right, later on in life. Okay. So whether it's you want them to be able to drink cow's milk, I find maybe at least 90% of the people in the group are people who have like sensitive or allergic babies, realize that cow's milk is really not that important and they don't really have a need for it or see a place for it in their life anymore. So that's cool. But so yeah, basically the goal is to have them be able to eat dairy protein in some way, shape, or form. Whether you want them to be introduced to cow's milk at a certain age, or you just don't want to have to worry when you go out to a restaurant or a friend's house or whatever. So the first thing I want you to think about is like, okay, what is my personal goal when it comes to doing the dairy ladder? And this is what I talk to with when I'm working with one-on-one clients, when we're working on reintroducing stuff. It's like, okay, what's your goal? Do you want to bring it back into do you want to bring it into your kid's diet fully, or bring it back into your diet fully? Or do you want to just have be dairy light and just not have to worry about it? But like if you're in the mood or whatever, then you can go for it. Oh, hi, Amy, and hi, Alex. Okay, let me finish my train of thought and I'll answer. I'm not even going to read your question because I don't want to lose my train of thought. So a lot of times what I recommend is, because dairy can be super nutritious for us. The good, and that's the goal with nutrition, is to like keep our bodies healthy, right, and happy. We want to enjoy it, and we want it to be doing what it needs to be doing for our body. So when it comes to dairy, I like good quality. Animal products need to be good quality. So like at minimum organic, like it's good if you know the farmer or whatever. And then cultured dairy is great. So if you can get like yogurt or certain cheeses, or butter is like super healthy if it's good quality butter, or even just ghee. That's a nice step on the dairy ladder. If you can just be able to incorporate those into your diet, those are like the nutrition packed powerhouses of dairy that we can get. Right. And then sure, ice cream like is a necessity in life. Like we all want to have ice cream sometimes. So that's another goal to work towards. But let's think about nutrition here for a little bit, right? So number one, I want you to think about like, what is your goal when it comes for you personally, you and your baby? What is your goal when you're starting the dairy ladder? Okay. All right. Let me get to Alex. Let me get to your question. Is the dairy ladder relevant while you're breastfeeding, or can you just slowly introduce any type of dairy back into your diet? Yeah. I mean, so you probably heard, generally it's recommended to be able to offer dairy to baby directly. So when they're old enough to be eating solids, just because it makes it easier. It's like one less variable, right? Going through you and then baby, like the timing is harder and you don't know exactly how much is getting through and all that stuff. So in general, it's easier and you get more straightforward answers if you offer it right to baby. But yeah, if you're breastfeeding, I mean, I think with my son, I tried introducing dairy at some point through breastfeeding, I think, because I remember having a waffle when I was out, when I used to work in the corporate world. I went out for breakfast and I remember having a waffle and it being in the test. So it is relevant. Like if you decide, like if you're in the circumstance where it kind of makes sense or whatever to do it while you're breastfeeding, I'm totally not going to say no. Some moms might, because like that's just what they've been told, but it works. Like do you. Okay. So yeah, I would do, if you're breastfeeding, I would still kind of work your way up slowly. And so I'll sort of explain like the concept of the dairy ladder here. And so that's what we'll want to be working our way up at, whether or not you decide to do it through breastfeeding or through baby. You kind of want to work your way up the dairy ladder. I hope that sort of answers your question. So I guess the short answer is yes, it is relevant while you're breastfeeding. There's just like a little bit more variables. So it might be a little bit harder to tell like exactly where your baby's like sweet spot is for dairy at that point, if that makes sense. But basically the general idea of the dairy ladder, so we came up with what our goal is, right? The general idea is, we want them to be able to handle, however, whatever type of dairy protein that we decide on for our goal or how much. So we want to work our way up to that. So the proteins, when they're cooked, baked for a long period of time, the proteins get broken down and they're easier to digest. So that's the idea with starting with a small amount that's baked for a long time. Okay. So I don't care if it's like cookies or, well, I do care if it's cookies. I really don't want you giving cookies to your babies. Okay. But the idea is that you want it to be, small amounts, probably butter, because butter has more of the fat than protein in it. So small amounts of probably butter that's baked in, like at 350 or whatever for quite a long period of time. Okay. So that's kind of where you want to start, whether you're doing it through breastfeeding or giving it to baby. And so that's when it can get hard. It's like, okay, well, baked dairy, baked goods, like automatically, like everything that you think of is not really the healthiest thing that you might want to be giving your baby, right? So there's some recipes, like there's a paleo bread, as long as your baby can do eggs, because there's a lot of eggs in it, okay? So, I can try to find like some recipes for you and your specific diet that might be good for you to introduce dairy. But in general, like baked dairy, a little bit of baked dairy in some sort of long bake, even if it's like a savory good, it's not like the most healthy thing, right? It's probably filled with refined carbs and flour and stuff like that. So, we do the best we can. That's why I like to try to sneak veggies in it or whatever to make it as healthy as possible. So the idea is to start with, like I said, a small amount of probably butter, because butter is more of the milk fat versus protein, baked for a long time. Okay. So like breads or muffins or, like all that stuff that's not super healthy, but try to do your best to make it as healthy as you can. And like I said, I can kind of help you figure out, like, according to what your diet is, what you guys like to eat, what might be a good suggestion for you guys. And then from there, like, I'm so not like a very rigid person about this again. So I get that some people need it to be like step by step by step by step, and we can work on that and figure it out, or you can just follow the dairy ladder and maybe try to make it a little healthier or whatever, with more real foods. Then that's why I want you to get the general concept. Okay. So the next step is, basically add a little bit more dairy, maybe bake it for the same amount of time, but add a little bit of more. So maybe now there's butter and milk in it. But it's still baked like a 350 for an hour type thing, and then after that, you want to bake it a little bit less. And then, so I don't know, I should see, this is when I should prepare. I should think of things off the top of my head, but if you guys have any ideas or questions, throw them out there and we'll see. And then, so yeah, you basically want to just be adding more and cooking it less, right? So then you get to the point where, maybe you're doing like the baked pasta type stuff. Like a lot of people think lasagna, but I think of lasagna and I think dairy bomb. So what I like to do is like a healthier mac and cheese. So I make like a really delicious cauliflower mac and cheese sauce. So I'll make that like my normal dairy-free mac and cheese sauce, but then add some cheese to it, right? And then melt it down and bake it. Or you can find like I add vegetables to everything because vegetables are life. So you can do you can probably find mac and cheese recipe that has like pumpkin or squash or sweet potato or something in it with some cheese mixed in. So that's like baked longer with a little bit more cheese, but it's not like a dairy bomb like a mac and cheese is, or a lasagna, because yes, they're baked for a long time, but it's still like a lot of cheese, right? So that'll be kind of like the next step up. So just kind of slowly like feel it out. What makes sense for your diet? What do you feel comfortable feeding your baby? And then just, add a little bit more and cook it a little bit less. And then we start getting into cultured dairy, which is a little bit, again, easier on the tummy. So certain cheeses, not all cheeses, but certain cheeses are cultured. You can get cultured butter. And again, butter is like more of the milk fat, and yogurts, things like that. So maybe you can try baking something with yogurt in it, right? So just start brainstorming like those sort of ideas and think about where they would make sense on this general concept of how much the proteins get broken down during baking or mixing or processing or heating or whatever, right? I hope that makes sense. Bree has a question. Hi, Bree. Questions that are avoiding dairy and soy. Should we do the soy or dairy ladder first? How long should we try items on the steps, and how long, give or take, should each step take if you pass? No, that's fine. That's cool. So many questions. No worries. With soy, it's so funny because I know there's so many people in here that that avoid dairy and soy. Have I? Maybe I shouldn't say never, but I haven't, as far as I can think of, worked with someone who has eliminated soy. I'm not actually, no, I have. I'm lying. Soy is tough because when it comes to soy, it's a lot of, unless you eat a lot of tofu or like those plant-based meats or like Asian food or whatever, soy is processed food, right? Because it's one of those things that's not like a staple of our diet unless we're eating a lot of processed food. So ideally, I would like to get a lot of that stuff out of your diet to begin with and not have to worry about bringing it back. And so maybe we can try soy out with like real food sources of soy, like soy sauce and stuff like that. But as far as doing one or the other first, it really depends on you. So the one client I'm remembering that that I worked with that cut out soy, she did soy first just because it is hard to avoid. It does feel like it's in everything, especially when you go to a restaurant. It's almost impossible to avoid because everything's cooked in soybean oil or margarine or whatever, right? So sometimes soy might make more sense to do first just because it's kind of harder to avoid when you're outside of the home. But I don't think, personally, I don't think it really is, I shouldn't say personally. As far as my nutrition background goes, I don't think it matters too much which one you do first. I think about like your lifestyle and what makes more sense to you. I hope that is a good answer for you, Bree. You are also, I assume you're all soy free in your house. Yeah, no, that's cool. There's a ton of people in this group that are soy free. I never had to go soy free with my babies, but then again, I kind of avoid like soybean oil and soy protein and all that kind of stuff in general anyway. And I don't eat a lot of tofu or soy. So I'm not like a soy-free expert kind of person. I'm an expert on quite a few things when it comes to sensitive babies and eliminating dairy and eggs and gluten and a lot of foods. But soy is unfortunately not one of the things that I'm like an expert in because I'm just like processed food. Let's just get it out of our diet no matter what. But anyway, yeah, so it doesn't really matter which one you do first. Again, think about like what makes more sense with your lifestyle, which one you think would be a little bit easier to start introducing first. And that's the one that I would pick first. Okay, how long should we try the items on each step? So what I like to say, I don't think it's too far off from what you find like all over the internet. And again, if it's a serious allergy, you're working with your allergist, right? Yeah, so I like to give like a normal size amount. So I know it's hard to describe, but not an amount where you're like 3 days later, you're like, but was it enough to cause a reaction? Or, like give like a normal portion for your child, like however much they normally eat, what's age appropriate or whatever. Give them a normal portion. And then wait 3 days. I know some dairy ladders, I think they'll do it like give it for 3 days and then take 3 days off. Either one's fine. Like do what feels right to you. If you want to be a little bit more cautious, or if you're like nervous because you know how bad your baby's reactions could be, just give it once, wait 3 days. If it seems fine, but you're like, okay, but I only gave it once, then do it again. It's, we have time. I know it's like, it's can feel frustrating. You just want to like get through this and get past this and just be done with it and over it. But it takes time, and there's nothing wrong with taking a few extra days or a few extra weeks to figure it out, right? So I like to say, give it one time, wait 3 days, see how it goes. If everything seems fine, then figure out what your next game plan is and just kind of slowly work your way up from there. I hope that is a answer that makes sense to you. and sounds good to you. So how long should we try items on the steps? How long, give or take, should each step take if you pass? Okay, so I think I answered all your questions, Bree. Let me know if I did not, or maybe I answered them, but you didn't like my answers, whatever, let me know. But I hope that all makes sense. Any other questions, please let me know. I feel like, I don't know, I was thinking I would just talk for 10 minutes because I was like, I'm not feeling so good tonight. I've had a headache for like 5 days. I told my husband, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this live show. I'll just talk for like 10 minutes. I don't have anything planned. And now it's 25 minutes. So I should probably sign off soon. Unless you guys have questions, I'm happy to stay on. Okay, Bree, you're seeing an allergist due to being dairy, soy, and all meat free, including fish. Oh my gosh. I guess you could laugh about that. It's a good attitude to have. You finally hit baseline. Yay, that's exciting. So you're eager to have fish again. Oh, I bet. Yes. Okay, good. I'm glad that helps. I'm glad you're working with an allergist because it sounds like, you've got some little bit more complicated stuff. But yeah, I mean, we're all here to support you and answer any questions you have. And I'm so happy for you guys. How old is your baby, Bree? Just curious. I've assumed, do you have more than one? Or when you said we, was it just you and your family with your baby? But anyway, I just like to know about everybody's babies. So that's exciting. Good luck trying. So I assume if you're going to, I don't know, are you going to try fish again? That'll be nice to be able to have some easier sources of protein. I'm being pregnant right now. I don't know how many, I think Bree, I don't know if we've talked before. So there's a couple new faces on here, but I'm pregnant and yeah, protein. I'm not like a huge meat eater, so protein's tough. So without eating any meat, I don't know, I'd probably faint. So good for you, Bree. Okay, so in summary, before I start going off on these crazy tangents and stuff, let's see. I was talking a little bit about surviving and thriving and how I really think it's important to look at real food and the whole picture. Oh, sorry, Bree. Finally, 7 months old and finally seeing an allergist. You have a 2 and 2.5. Wait, you have 2? Oh, you have 2, a 2.5-year-old and a 7-month-old. Okay, I get it. Awesome. That's probably about, so what is that? 2.5 is like 30 months and a 7-month-old. Okay, my kids are 20 months apart. So yours are a little bit further apart, but still similar in ages. So that's fun. My daughter's gonna be 5 on Thursday and my son is 3. So it's fun. They're at really fun ages now. Now I'm adding another one. So we'll see what happens. October 7th can't come soon enough. I assume that's when you're going to help. Not yet. Tune in for help because this has been so hard. I know it is hard, but hopefully you have good support around you. You've got this group here, which is amazing, super supportive, and support is so, so important. Whenever I try to talk to as many of you mamas in the group as possible, it's a lot. I think I've kind of have burned myself out, like I mentioned at the beginning. But I like to get to know as many of you as possible. And whenever I hear a mom say it's hard or they're going through any sort of hard time, that's always the first question I ask is, what kind of support do you have? Because it's really, really, really important. So Bree, I hope you've got some good support. And at least now you've got hopefully an allergist that you like and a team of professionals to work with, as well as like family and friends and us. And I'm always here if you need me. But yeah. Okay. So generally what I wanted you guys to understand today was how I don't like the dairy ladder because it tells you to give your baby cookies and I am not okay with that. Let's focus on real food. Okay. So number 1, when you're starting the dairy ladder, think about what the goal is for you and your baby, because maybe your goal isn't to make it all the way to cow's milk, and that's awesome, right? Think about what your goal is for you and your baby before you think about anything else with the dairy ladder. And then I want you to understand just like the general concept of what the dairy ladder is trying to walk you through, okay? It doesn't need to be like these super exact, rigid steps. Just understand that the longer the proteins are cooked, the easier they are to digest. The less there are, obviously, the easier there are to digest. So you kind of want to just like work your way up. Cooked longer, a little bit more. Cooked longer, a little bit more. And then you can start adding like the cultured dairies, like cheeses and butter and yogurt. I just noticed my dog was in here. I like heard a noise and she's sleeping on the bed. And work your way up to there, and then stop where you want to stop where it feels comfortable. But if you understand what your goal is and what the general picture and idea and like point of the dairy ladder is, then you guys will be all set. Okay. So hope that all makes sense. And I will go because we're at half an hour, and I think that's enough for everybody for tonight. But as always, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments here, or feel free to PM me. Okay, I want to do one last plug. You guys are probably all signing off, but if anybody's new to the group, today was, so last week or 2 weeks ago, something I did amazing. This is part of, I think, why I got burned out, because I was like so excited about it and spent so much time and did like these amazing live shows for a few nights in a row. I did a baby skin gut health free mini course, and that kind of led into a full 10-week baby skin gut health course. If Amy's still watching, she's on that. I don't know if anybody else who's watching is in there or not. But anyway, I'm going to do one last plug for it because I'm really excited about it. And we've got a group, just a handful of nice, amazing, super motivated women that I'm super excited about. So if anything with the concept of like if your baby has skin issues, or just anything in the concept of, improving gut health for you and or your baby, then definitely check out the baby skin, what am I calling it? Baby skin solution course. It started today. I'm leaving signups open probably for the next couple days, because you won't get like too far behind. It's just an audio lesson that was released today with some worksheets. It's really awesome. So, oh, hi, Amy. So if that all it sounds interesting to you, this is my, like, probably not my final plug, but I just wanted to, put it out there. And if you're interested, then you'll probably find a link somewhere for it in the page, or just PM me. Always feel free to PM me. If we don't have a PM going right now, we should. So if I haven't reached out to you, then please reach out to me. I like to get to know as many of you ladies as possible. So I'm here if you need me, whether it's baby poop or eczema or gut health or dairy ladder or real food or support systems or whatever. I'm here and I'm happy to help. So, okay, I will shut up, and I'll see you guys hopefully next week. I'll plan another live show. If you guys have other ideas of what you want me to talk about, shoot them my way and I'll come up with something. All right, bye guys.